Captain Paul for the Locker Room here, and we'll be doing a breakdown, a season preview of the New York Islanders. The Islanders made it into the playoffs. Unfortunately, didn't go their way. They ended up losing to the Carolina Hurricanes, and that Game 7 goal was a little bit unfortunate, a little bit of bad luck against Sorokin. But I think the New York Islanders have an opportunity to be back in that same position. But before I get into my season preview, I appreciate if you drop a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you have not already. Doing a giveaway once we reach 5,000 subscribers, and to enter that, you got to be subscribed, hit the notification bell as well. But let's just get right into it. The New York Islanders, an interesting team, really good defensively, and under Lou as their general manager, they brought in talent. They acquired Bo Horvat. They've been trying to get to that next level, become a Stanley Cup contender. There's been years where people thought like, hey, they have an opportunity to go to the finals, come out of the Eastern Conference, and maybe even win it. But last year, I would say, I think realistically, nobody expected them to go too far in the postseason. They are currently $486,000 over the cap as of right now. Let's get right into the depth chart. So when I look at the Islanders, one thing I'll have to note is the offensive output, it leaves you wanting more. I'd actually have to mention like a guy that isn't on this roster, was not resigned, Zach Parise. For what he was a valid contributor, and they're going to have somebody either through the AHL. I don't really think from this draft, because their highest draft pick there, he committed to the University of Notre Dame. But looking at the top line, Anders Lee, Bo Horvat, and Matthew Barzal. Now, Barzal is a fantastic hockey player if he can stay healthy, and that's really the main thing with Barzal, is health. If he can stay healthy, play around at least 70 games a season, that will be massively important for the Islanders if they want to get into, whether that be a wild card or a top 3 spot in the Metro. Bo Horvat was fantastic when he was with Vancouver. He was having a career year, but then when he got traded, he did cool down. Bo Horvat throughout his career is a quality center. Do I think he's a superstar? No. Do I think he can play up to a star level? Yes, but what Horvat was doing with the Vancouver Canucks last season before he got traded was just unsustainable. There was no way he was going to be able to replicate this. This guy's kind of like a 60-point guy throughout his career. I like Horvat. I think there's, maybe with Barzal and they get some chemistry going, there's more there. But, as a top line, I think it's solid. Is it the best in the Eastern Conference? No. I don't even know if it would be top 15. I'd have to really kind of go through it. But it's a solid top line. But then going into the second line as of right here, and I understand this is cap friendly, so this might not be how it works out. We'll just go through each individual. Engvall, Nelson, and Polonari. The problem I look at this Islanders is you just kind of notice a lack of depth scoring. There's just not too much there. Now, Brock Nelson had 36 goals, 39 assists for 75 points. But outside of him, Horvat, Anders Lee, and Barzal when healthy, you have okay secondary scoring, but it's just, I don't feel like it's enough. Fasching, Pajot, Wahlstrom, quality bottom 6 guys. Matt Martin, Zizekas, Clutterbuck. Like I said, quality bottom 6 guys. I think those 3 in a 4th line role, nothing wrong with that. But due to the cap situation that they find themselves in, should Pajot be paid $5 million? No. Shouldn't be a $5 million player. I know Palmieri only played 55 games last season, so maybe I'm being a little bit unfair. Him playing a full year, hey, maybe he gets around 50, 60 points. But they're going to need these guys to stay healthy, and they're going to need them to produce, especially with how much money they have spent up front. Because you might be like, well, there's no massive contract. Like, Barzal's making under 10. So is Horvat. Like, Horvat's 8.5. Barzal's 9.1. Oh, it's not terrible, but when you look at the guys that they spent money on with the depth, they've spent quite a bit of money up front, and I don't think they're necessarily getting the most bang for their buck. But, I'm going to be honest with you. It's hard because some of these players were due to injury. I think Barzal is one of the better players in the league, especially when healthy. Can he stay healthy? Bo Horvat, I think there's more question marks there. Can he replicate what he did in the beginning of Vancouver? Or was what he was doing with the Islanders, well, not horrible by any stretch of the imaginations, is nowhere near 8.5 million in cap hit, in my opinion. But forwards, I'll say production for me about average at best, kind of below average when you go into their secondary scoring. But I do think there's potential for their more scoring there, though. So I want to be fair. I don't want to be too harsh, because when you look at the point per game clips, with actual full 82 game season, maybe they can be an average NHL offense. But let's go into the strength of this New York Islanders team. Pelech, Polak, Romanov, Dobson, Aho, Mayfield. I like this decor. They have a really good decor. Pelech and Polak, very quality defenders, big size. Romanov, who they got from Montreal, he has fit in pretty good there with the Islander system. Dobson, he's a quality guy. And the thing I like when you look at this decor, right? Well, excluding Mayfield, because he's more of a bottom pairing guy, but pretty much all of them are in their prime, right? Pelech, 29. Polak, 28. Romanov and Dobson, only 23. And Aho, 27. There's a lot to be happy with this D pair. This is one of the best D pairings, or I should say decors, in the NHL. Very quality, very competent. And that's what the New York Islanders are, though. Defensively, they're really good. They really are. Like, defensively, the New York Islanders, their decor, and even the system that they play in, they're a very difficult team to play against. They will make it a one-goal game. Against far more competent offensive teams, they will make it difficult on you, and they will keep it close. And that's how they win games. And from the back end, I mean, Dobson had 49 points. You know, each defender had 20-plus points. You're getting some offense from your defense. So maybe they can kind of replicate that next season and maybe get a little bit more offensive production from their D-men. But yeah, I have no complaints about the defense. I think it's good quality. Some people might have said that a couple players might have had a couple down years, but I mean, overall, when you look at the statistics and you just watch them play, I think they're very solid in that end. And then we'll go into goaltending. Sorokin and Varlamov. Sorokin, if you watch my top 5 goalies, I ranked him as the number 2 goalie in the NHL. Now, some people thought, oh, you should have gone with Vasilevsky. But Sorokin has proven time and time again he's a workhorse for this team. 62 games played, 2.34 goals against average, a .924 save percentage. He single-handedly dragged that Islanders team on an amazing run to go to the playoffs. It's not just the defensive system. Like, if that's the case, Varlamov, who is a good goalie in his own right, played 23 games, had only a .913 and save percentage and a 2.70 goals against average. He would have replicated Sorokin's number. Sorokin is a very good goaltender. Very athletic, very quick, just great reflexes. I don't think he's... It's weird. I think because the Islanders are known as a defensive team, he's not given the credit that he deserves. Because when you watch these games, he just stands on his head. And maybe the unfortunate part is that Game 7 goal that went against him, you look at it, it's like, oh my God, that's a bad one. But watching all the saves he made up into that point and throughout the whole series, like, he kept the Islanders in it. That's the only reason it went as far as it did. So I think with the New York Islanders, they have a fantastic goaltender, and the future is extremely bright. Now, you're like, okay, who is in the system? This is something I'm going to go into. They have a couple good quality players here, right? And I'm going to butcher his name. The Russian, Ishkakov. Quality player, first time playing in North America in the AHL, 69 games played, 17 goals, 34 assists for 51 points. That's what you want. You want your young guys developing. You're like, well, what about Terry and Adorov? These guys are older, like in their 30s. Now Terry, Christy, he had a fantastic season. So I kind of feel bad saying that. Like 78 points, 67 games, but like any level is fantastic. I'd love for him to, somehow make a NHL team like a third, fourth line role. I just don't see it. But your guys you're mainly concerned about is the young guys. Ishkov, 51 points, 69 games played. Defer has been referenced in a lot of scouting reports. They like a lot of his game. He just thinks it might take a little bit of time for him to develop. And then on defensively, Samuel Bolduc. I mean, 35 points from the back end, 10 goals, 25 assists. The minus 13 is a little bit alarming, but from the game footage I watched before I made this video, I mean, he's an impactful player. So I think the Islanders have another good quality defenseman coming up throughout the ranks. So maybe he'll eventually, maybe he supplants Mayfield. Maybe they even get better on the back end. But you have a couple guys here that have an opportunity in front of themselves to maybe challenge for a third line role. Kind of get into a situation where, hey, like, we're going to be here trying to fight and maybe give them a little bit more offense through the bottom scoring. Their bottom six scoring, which I think is sorely needed. So when I look at the Islanders, good quality team, not too much to complain about in that regard. Who are they going to get? Who are they going to kind of dump to open up some cap? They got to shave off some money. They have quite a bit of players making quite a bit of money. I mean, maybe Clutterbuck just gets moved. He's a bottom. Yeah, I mean, he's a fourth line guy. 12 points last year in 49 games played. Maybe you move him. He's making $1.75 million. Have somebody take his contract. Maybe a team that's struggling to get to the cap floor, which I don't think there's that many of those type of teams right now in the NHL. I don't have that right in front of me. But yeah, I think the Islanders, if I was going to say a closing statement, like, where do I think the New York Islanders are going to finish? I think they're a good quality playoff team. They have good defense, good goaltending, but I think they're a playoff caliber team. But I'm just, when they get there, do they have enough scoring to get over the hump? But I'm just not sure. Bo Horvat, if you can replicate what he did in Vancouver, it's not like I'm beating a dead horse. That'd be fantastic for him. They need a guy when Horvat is cooking, and when he was destroying teams in the Western Conference as one of the only good offensive options in Vancouver. If they could get Vancouver, Horvat in his last season to be a consistent thing on the island, that top line is going to be extremely dangerous. But there's just too many question marks for me up front. Nelson's quality. Palmieri's, he's quality when healthy. But is that bottom six? Those bottom six lines up front, I think they're good. You need a little bit more scoring. You need guys to contribute. And hey, maybe you have one of those guys in the AHL take the next step and really challenge it. Because at this point, a lot of those guys in the bottom six up front, they kind of, maybe Wahlstrom not so much, but the other guys, they are what they are at this point in their career. 28, 30, 34, 32, 35. There's not much more to give. Usually people don't have a complete career-changing path at that point in their career. But yeah, I think they're a playoff team. I'm going to be doing a breakdown of each division and kind of going into predictions with my co-host Fajardo when we kind of get together. But if you're an Islanders fan, I think there's some really good things to like about this team. The defensive structure has always been good. The team's defense is fantastic. The goaltender, I think you have one of the best in the world in Sorokin. And up front, while I think it's an average NHL offense, I think with this quality of defense and goaltending, that's all you need. Maybe they try to acquire another piece like they did last season. Maybe acquire another offensive weapon that can hopefully take them to that next level. But I'd like to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Where do you think the New York Islanders will finish? Do you think the New York Islanders will surprise some teams? Is there a chance that they could maybe be a Stanley Cup contender? Yeah, I'd love to see it. I appreciate you guys watching the video all the way through. Got the ball. I'll see you in the next one.